of people are aware that there are some people amongst us that have some kind of learning disability. It's in the four walls of the schools. This is rather a dangerous trend, because how then will the teacher know how to tailor every child's teaching according to their needs? So most definitely something need be done. But the figure isn't always also in our favor. 20% of every population, it is said, all over the world, that would have dyslexia. If we take over 200 million of Nigerians, you're talking over 40 million people. And as our guest has told us just before we came on air for this segment, she said, we could be more. We just might never know. But how then can we start to identify, especially for teachers, for parents especially, whom can sometimes not be happy or be disillusioned about some certain conditions about their children, not knowing that they're actually struggling on their own. What then is dyslexia, and how can we start to address it as a society? We have with us this morning Dr. Adrienne Tikolo. She is the MD, Dyslexia Nigeria. Join us as we welcome her to the show this morning. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I was telling you, as I was reading, I realized it wasn't until last year that there now started to be a special focus on this particular learning disorder, of course, by your NGO. Let's start this from afresh, from the very bottom, since there are lots of people who are not aware what it is. The word alone, it can be very confusing for a lot of people not to talk of how to pronounce it. So what exactly is dyslexia, and what are the symptoms? What should we look out for?
Thank you so much. Dyslexia is a specific learning disability that affects all the skills required for reading, writing, spelling. But then it also can affect concentration, attention, and organization. The thing about it is it doesn't affect intelligence. And so you find the children and adults, you know, that are quite creative, quite intelligent, but struggle with reading or writing, or struggle with memory, you know, putting their ideas down on paper. So it's really a language processing disorder. Affects, you know, speaking, listening, reading, writing, spelling.
Well, why did you say 90% of Nigerian teachers do not know what dyslexia is all about?
I've been a teacher for almost 40 years. And I have taught teachers, you know, over the years. And in my experience, with the number of teachers that I come across that I teach every year, about 90% of teachers don't know about dyslexia.
That's staggering, you know.
It is staggering, and it's such a huge problem, because the first signs of dyslexia are likely to be seen in the classrooms. And when teachers cannot identify dyslexia, you know we have a huge number that are going to go down through the cracks. So dyslexia, you know, it is, like you said, it is staggering.
Okay, I'm going back to my culture now. We're very good, and when I say culture, I'm talking about Nigeria as a whole. We're very good at labeling. Just once a child is acting out of the norm, we start to call him names. We start to describe him a certain way. What's wrong with you? Why can't you stay in one place? Why can't you just sit down like your mates? Comparing them as well. How do we get out of that cultural way to start to say, wait a minute, I think something might be wrong here, especially for parents?
Thank you. And just before I answer that, you've touched on the theme for the Awareness Month this year, which is the invisibility of dyslexia. The idea is that, you know, we have people in our society that struggle and feel that what they're going through is unrecognized. In fact, they feel unwanted, unsupported, and invisible, because dyslexia itself is invisible. And in addition to that, it also comes along with, you know, other challenges that might be invisible, like, you know, the struggle with their mental health. And so you find a group of people that people do not recognize that they have a problem. And so they're left on their own to struggle. And so you find parents, teachers, you know, they don't know the child has something. They're not sure what is going on. And usually dyslexics have average to high intelligence. And so they're very good verbally, you know, they can give you their position, they're creative, probably very good with sports or doing things with their hands, with gadgets, but then they struggle with reading and writing and spelling, and this is how we learn in school. And so they don't do as well, and we begin to wonder, what is wrong with you? You're too playful, you're too lazy, you're not trying hard enough, you're not pulling your weight, you're not, and they're always running under the radar because we see them as being intelligent. You won't see a child that, is intelligent and wonder why he's not doing well. You always think they're just acting out, they're lazy, or they're not pulling their weight. And that's the thing that differentiates dyslexia, which is an SPLD, a specific learning difficulty, from a general learning difficulty that has intellectual disability.
What's the difference between dyslexia and ADHD children?
Great. So ADHD has to do with attention deficit, and it's not an SPLD. But dyslexia is a specific learning disability. However, they can co-occur. So you can have a child that has dyslexia and ADHD. In fact, it co-occurs about 60% of the time.
Wow.
Okay, yes. Did you just realize that you've just described quite a number of young children in our schools?
Thank you. That is why we say that it's a huge problem when you have a large number of people that are going unnoticed, unrecognized, functioning under the radar, and will not achieve their full potential. At the end of the day, 20% means 1 in every 5 persons. So if you have 30 children in your classroom as a teacher, about 6 of them are going to be showing some degree of dyslexia.
Okay, this is what bothers me actually, because I have kids. She does as well.
When you just described me as having dyslexia.
I didn't.
He did, didn't he? He called me, he said I had dyslexia.
And I recall so many instances where the teacher had to draw your attention to the fact that your child, because you know the child you have, then say not paying attention, writing very slow. Then I'm wondering, how does our environment also contribute to why we think it's something else as against something you can actually pay attention to?
It is still because there is a lack of awareness. When you don't know, you just don't know. That's the bottom line. And again, because the children are usually intelligent, we just think that there isn't really anything wrong. If a lot more people knew about specific learning difficulties, and there are quite a number of them, and dyslexia is the most common with 90%, but if only we knew, and that's why we're saying at least let teachers know.
So how do we address it? Let's just go to, how do we address this?
It is largely an education problem, so it's the way they learn in a slightly different way, and so teachers have to teach in a more multisensory way.
The teacher is under pressure all the time. All the time to get a curriculum out to make sure to attend to the kids in the class. So how do you begin to differentiate this child is, let me pay special attention to this one? Well,
should there be special schools? Must there? Okay.
No, that's their calling. That's what teachers do. You have all the children in your classroom, they're never going to be the same. You have to differentiate. We've been made differently. It's just how it is. And so as a teacher, you're not going to get children that are all the same. You need to pay attention to their differences when you're teaching. That's why you differentiate. So teachers should go to colleges of education. They should go to the university, to faculty of education. We shouldn't just let anyone walk into education and feel that they can teach. Exactly.
Okay. But what should proprietors, school owners be doing at this time? And I want to know what your advocacy is towards that, at least in addressing teaching skills tailored towards identifying so as to be able to help these children.
First thing first is, you have to screen. You can't know a person is dyslexic by looking at them. Yeah, there are different signs. We've not been able to touch on that, of course. There are different signs. But if you screen young children in grade 1, for instance, they're coming into school, do a dyslexia screening, you would already find those that are showing signs of dyslexia. You begin then to tailor into their learning interventions that will help. And if you do something in grade 1, they will not struggle as much. If you don't do anything by grade 4, they probably will never catch up to their mates ultimately in reading, and it will take 4 to 10 times the effort to help them, learn to read and write and spell.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
We have a lot of inquiries here.
Okay.
About 10, 15 of them, all of them saying the same thing.
Okay.
They do not know
Yes.
what dyslexia is,
Yes.
and they would like to know what symptoms they should look out for. So for the next 2-3 minutes, can we get in with what it is and what the symptoms should be for those who are watching now?
Great. So again, it's a learning, difficulty that relates to language, reading, writing, spelling. I think many times we make the error of thinking that reading is just, saying the word off the paper. But it's actually a process that ends in comprehension. And so you want to read an article and comprehend what you've just read. And so when you're having problems along that line up to comprehension, you're having problems with reading. So, it's a problem with reading. What are the signs? Because you inherit dyslexia, it's across the lifespan. And you can't change who you are. You can't stop being dyslexic.
It's genetic.
It is genetic. And so you have, different signs at different stages of your life. So when a child is in nursery, he won't like to rhyme. He will have difficulty rhyming, difficulty associating letters and sounds together. He'll have difficulty blending. He'll probably be mixing up his B's and his D's, P's and Q's, letters that look alike. He's not reading. Then when he gets into primary school, his spelling is bad. He mixes up letters, he mixes up words. He reads it right this time and reads it wrong the next time. His reading is slow, his writing is slow. He doesn't have fluency, ultimately doesn't have comprehension. He goes into secondary school. He's even slower. He's probably not doing well because even in exams, he needs more time. He's too slow. He doesn't have accommodation. He's still not reading well. His reading is too, so he's not gaining comprehension. I mean, it's a whole gamut of things that comes from not being able to read and write properly. They have all these great ideas. Tell them to put it down, in an essay, and they have a problem with that. But they're very creative, and they just need to be taught in a slightly different way.
Well, why have you just described even me growing up? It's a serious matter, actually.
It is. A lot of creative persons are dyslexic. They just don't know.
Ouch,
Okay,
ouch.
Let me ask this before I forget again. I know you've talked about what we should do, getting teachers into schools. So you need to be trained. Is government aware that dyslexia exists? What intervention have you seen them do? Let's take, for example, Lagos State as a microcosm of the entity called Nigeria.
I mean, I wouldn't say, of course, government is aware of what dyslexia is. The Commissioner for Education is an educator of many years, so of course they know what dyslexia is. There is a policy for special education right now, but the implementation is where the problem lies. I think there needs to be a lot more legislation to force schools to do screening, to force them to train teachers. There's a lot more we can do. If you go into the curriculum for teacher training colleges, there isn't anything much about dyslexia. And the same teachers are going to go into schools to teach children.
Is that intervention you're looking for?
I mean, if we start with teachers knowing what dyslexia is. Once a child is showing the signs, they know, oh, this is dyslexia. Can we get a screening? And we confirm this is dyslexia. This is what we need to begin to do now. If they don't know, they don't know.
Are we working with the state government on this, with the education board, to see how we can take it down to the grassroots, to the public schools? And be sure to get
we've been doing a lot of talking, but as an NGO, we have free programs in public schools. So we do free screenings. We have a Every Child Reads program. So we send volunteers to school to teach children that are showing signs of dyslexia. But that's what we do. But we also do assessment, teacher trainings, workshop for parents. Raising awareness, trying to do advocacy. We have resources. I mean, we're hoping that we can use this period, especially Dyslexia Awareness Month, to, garner more awareness. Because once people are aware, then, a lot more can be done.
October is
Dyslexia Awareness Month.
Okay, I've got two questions for you, rolled in one. What is Go Red? And secondly, is there any correlation between dyslexia and mental health?
Awesome. So Go Red. Red has been a problem for dyslexics. I'll tell you why. They see the red mark in their book. It signifies failure throughout their life. This is wrong, that is wrong, do this again, do that again. And so we're taking that red color back and we're using it as a source of awareness. So that's why we're saying this month, go red, wear red, tag us, follow us on Instagram, and just show, your support for what we are doing and trying to raise awareness. Is there a correlation between dyslexia and mental health? Absolutely. Unaddressed dyslexia comes with a lot of mental health issues. Anxiety, depression, panic attacks, low self-esteem, poor confidence. There's a lot that, in fact, it's been found that a lot of the people that are incarcerated, are dyslexic.
Wow.
A lot of people, yes, I assess so many young adults that begin to have panic attacks just with the thought of going into an examination room, and they're collapsing and they're having depression. I know quite a number that have attempted suicide because, people expect that they can do so well, but they're failing all the time and they're tired of it.
Even with all their efforts.
Exactly,
Okay.
because the efforts are unseen, because
Okay.
dyslexia itself is invisible.
All right, I have to take some comments now, but I would like us, after you address the comments, for us to escalate the conversation to success stories.
Great.
I read somewhere a certain social media personality, I wouldn't want to mention her name because I didn't have her permission, had talked all the time about her child having dyslexia and had had to take the child away from Nigeria outside, and just last month she posted this picture that he had graduated from the university, and she was doing all of these dance, and we all could understand where she was going to. So we will look at success stories.
Great.
But let's look at this. She said, since dyslexia appears genetics, what is the best thing to do to curb it and to ensure a child is free from it totally? How can a parent beat these to ensure their child gets better of it?
Great. First, dyslexia is inherited, like the color of your skin, the color of your eye, your hair. You can't change it. You're dyslexic. But what it means is that it comes with a preponderance. So you have a tendency to struggle with, letters and sounds and reading and writing. If we find it early enough, we can start early. And, they won't have to struggle. It is finding it early enough. There's a window of opportunity in grade 1. Lower elementary. That's a window of opportunity we have where we really can make a huge difference. So it's identifying it, finding it early. If you find that your child is showing signs, get an assessment done. Once we're sure it's dyslexia, you can start the intervention. And it's really just about how to teach the child and the resources to use.
But this one says, I have a 4-year-old daughter that was doing well in school, but not until the lockdown where she stayed at home for a year plus. But as she resumed back to another school, she isn't doing well at all. Could this be a sign of dyslexia?
I don't know what doing well in this context actually means, but I can say that the lockdown actually helped a lot of dyslexic children, because maybe the teachers have been saying, oh, this child is struggling, and the parents haven't been having it. Now the parents were locked down with the children, and now they could see, oh my God, I think there's a problem here. So the lockdown actually helped quite a number of children get assessed.
All right, let's talk success stories.
Oh, great. I mean, dyslexia has its difficulty, but the funny thing, it comes with a lot of strengths as well. They're good outside-the-box thinkers, they're problem solvers, they're very creative, and come on, there are 1,000,001 people that are succeeding out there. Richard Branson is dyslexic. If you have an Apple phone, you have a dyslexic person to thank. Steve Jobs was dyslexic. I mean, there's so many. Keira Knightley, Muhammad Ali, 60% of inventors, Edison, the guy that invented the light bulb, the telephone, the airplane, they're all dyslexic. About 60 to 70% of the people in NASA are dyslexic. They think in a different way, and they help us, change the narrative. You can imagine, the father of gravity. You're sitting down under a tree and the apple comes down. And the rest of us will just pick up the apple and eat it and go away. And he wonders, why did it come down? Why did it go up or sideways? And that's the thing. They think in a different way. They think outside the box. And so they're great problem solvers. They have all of the skills. The problem is school will cut the wings, because we're not giving them the support that they require at that time when they're in school. But they do have all of these things. So success stories, there are 1,000,001 of them.
1,000,001.
1,000,001.
All right, let's take this final. We see our floor manager is a viewer. Says, good morning. I'm being affected by this learning. Am I being affected by this learning disorder? I'm a 38-year-old and I'm a graduate and I can write good English, but cannot speak English fluently, and I'm also good in mathematics. It is so much a sad situation for me, ma. Bola from Lagos.
It's possible. I mean, there are lots of people in the workplace that struggle with dyslexia every day. There are a lot of people that live in uni that struggle with dyslexia every day. You know, some of the signs are it affects speech as well. You're still writing very slowly. You can't read the paper very quickly. You can't comprehend in time. You don't, you know, keep to time. You're getting queries all of the time. You're having problems. You're getting anxiety. It is dyslexia. You don't remember things. Dyslexia affects memory as well. And so, you know, you probably don't remember things. They're giving you 3 instructions. You only remember the last one. Go and read this article, you know, summarize it and bring it back to me. Summarizing is an issue. Writing down things is a problem. And it's a whole gamut. Yeah, so she could be dyslexia.
Okay, Dr. Tikolo, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Interestingly, I guess we have so many things to talk about. Hopefully, we won't wait until the next awareness month before you come to the studio again to help us. Fingers crossed. Thank you very much, the MD Dyslexia Nigeria, Dr. Adrienne Tikolo, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll take another break. When we come back, sports guys will be at the other side of the studio to take you through the world of sports. Don't go anywhere else. Stay Morning Delight right here on Lagos Television.